So one playoff game can get you 140 million. Jalen Hurts says 95% of the offense is new, which makes me wonder what is still remaining with the other. So she's got to be worth 5%. And Brock Purdy, Brock Purdy versus Aaron Rodgers. Who was the better season? What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with your host, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And I'm joined by my man, NFL guru, beat writer for NJ.com, covers the Philadelphia Eagles, Chris Franklin. So, Chris, 140 million, one playoff game, one playoff game.
Hey, man, when you look at all these impact receivers that are out there, you can't. There are not that many that you can really truly feel like you can make plays. And now you look at this, like, yeah, the Vikings, in a way, the Vikings kind of did this to themselves. They knew that
Yeah.
he was the man was going to be paid. They knew it. I can see AJ Brown gets his money. Devontae Smith gets his money. We better pay him now before everybody else goes. It bam hits him that way. So hey,
But are you that
productive.
bad? Are you that worse? Like, okay. First, let me put a disclaimer out there. Let me preface it with saying, I am extremely happy for Justin Jefferson, for Justin Jefferson's family, for his future youngins. They have generational wealth, and I applaud that young man and I salute that young man. But as a sports analyst, my first question is this: what does he give you that's worth 140 million of our cap? See, I always approach it from a general manager's point of view. And let's be realistic here. The Packers, the Bears, and even to some extent the Lions are all ascending. Does anyone in this room believe the Minnesota Vikings are even maintaining, yet alone ascending? Exactly, crickets. So why am I giving this young man $140 million when I know we are going to be permanent residents in Suckville? Why am I doing that? Please explain this to me.
Because I mean, if you don't even have him on your offense, look what you look at JJ McCarthy. You got him, and then you're looking around. I know they drafted a receiver last year, Addison, and you think he can be decent. But when you have when you add him, you can open up so much other stuff for their offense. If you don't have them, good luck trying to lock them down. And
Mm.
you can't. I just look at overall how he can be used, how Kevin O'Connell can use him in that offense, and it's just they needed to. If not, it's
It'll
you think it'll be bad
be
this year.
you would go from sucking to just being crappy. Because in 4 years you've had him, you've had one playoff game and you lost to the Giants, who are another team that are denying a rebuild. Just AJ Brown is on a contending team. Whether or not you think the Eagles are a Super Bowl, and whether or not you think they're going to the Super Bowl, everyone agrees that they are a Super Bowl contending team. Give me my other top receivers in the game. I'm trying to think. Stephon Diggs is on his way down.
CeeDee Lamb.
Um, CD Lamb, great. That's a great segue to that. We weren't going to talk Cowgirls, but we can talk about him. Jerry Jones, we can say a lot of things about Jerry Jones. We can't call him a fool. He knows those dudes when they come in the locker room. Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant. He knows those receivers when they come in. Their reluctance to give CD Lamb the huge payday, their reluctance to give Dakota Prescott the big payday makes me say, get it. Like we've only got one team in our division that is definitely heading up in the right, trending in the right direction. The other two are going either down or are looking down. So we got an opportunity if we budget correctly to do a quick rebuild. The Vikings, on the other hand, paid a dude just to pay a dude. Say McCarthy is the next Phil Simms. What does that get you? And that's the ceiling for him. I think everyone
That's
would
a
say
high
Phil
ceiling.
Simms is the ceiling because most people think Jeff Hostetler, Steve DeBerg. That's what they're thinking. So I don't get the logic behind it, and then the trickle down effects are they now have changed the landscape for the non quarterback position. So they
Well,
in
also,
in him getting his money, but
no, I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't interrupt on that one too. But I was going
no,
to say
no, no, go
this.
ahead.
I was going to say this. You mentioned it earlier too, and it's a good point in terms of the fact that you can't say the R word. You can't say rebuild because the moment you say rebuild, you're starting like, why am I paying for the merchandise? Why am I paying for this? Why am I paying for that? And I know you're a basketball guy. We saw what happened with the process in the Sixers when you say rebuild. I'm not paying for these players. I don't know if they're going to be here. They're not going to rebuild and stuff
Yeah.
like that too. you can't. It's tough for them to sell that. So like, we need to show a piece that's going to be here for long term that we're not really rebuilding, really building. But meanwhile, like, okay, cool, shuffle this around. Oh, it's not a rebuild. He's still here. Look, he's still here. So it's ugh.
It's one of those things that I when I first saw it, I said I got to hear Chris's opinions on this because I just felt like it made more sense to trading. It just made more sense to trading, rob somebody of the number. You know, New England, they think they're a few players away. Send him over there. You can always get a game breaking wide receiver. Every year there feels like there's a game breaking wide receiver in the top 10. I mean, am I wrong? We just took Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, am I wrong here?
Because I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it from them like New England would have gave probably a first in the thing, but also, and that's the thing, it kind of goes against the argument I was making, like he's worth the money, but when you try to trade for these guys, you need to get at least a one, maybe you get a three or a four. And
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. I know you got the wide receivers. You can find good wide receivers in the second round. We've seen that a lot when you look at Debo, Ayuk, and all those guys around that same class. You can find guys in the low first round and second round. But the problem is like when you see the guys when it comes to those game breakers, when it comes to guys who consistently can do it, the guys who can really consistent is a matchup, and probably 95% of the matchups they go against are going to be the one that's favored in terms of winning that snap. It's really tough. And when you look at Justin Jefferson, I think he's one of those guys,
Yeah.
and you can't just explain it away. I think from their aspect, they couldn't explain away. Going, okay, we traded him. We got these picks that we hope work out, and yeah, we're going to go from there. So I think that's when that played another role in tie that as well too.
Yeah, it's the magic beans theory. I'll give you that. You mentioned trust process. I remember I was on air. I said, dude is giving us magic beans, and everyone's sitting there and these stalks are going to grow. And they never grew. They never grew. You know, he went grocery shopping and he showed a receipt of all the food that they planned to buy, but that my kitchen and my refrigerator is empty. And if you're Justin Jefferson, you take the deal and you say, you know what? I'm going to request a trade probably in about 15 games. So like, I'll take the money because I'm going to be out of here in 15 games anyway. It is the player and agent MO. You take the money now. You act like you're on board with your rebuild or reload or retool. But the fact of the matter is, you go get you a real estate agent. You know, you let the girl you know that's in one time zone and the other time zones that I may be coming out there. So you know that's pretty much what you do. He's like, all right, I'm headed that way. So you mentioned the 49ers. I saw an interesting question. Shot the first things first, where they compared Aaron Rodgers and Brock Purdy, and they said which one will have a better individual year. And my first instinct was, well, that's easy. It's going to be Purdy. What about it? Because you mentioned Samuels, who 2 years ago went out and they wouldn't trade him and they gave him solid money. But when he looks at the landscape now, like let's make fun. Let's say he got Maserati money. Well, now you're getting Bentley, Ferrari, and Aston Martin money out there. And he's like, yo, Ayuk still hasn't been paid. To my knowledge, he still hasn't been paid. I don't know if they worked on something and maybe I missed it watching Caitlin Clark, but he still hasn't been paid. Purdy may be walking into a hornet's nest. They drafted two wide receivers. They were the one team that I think they were one of a few teams that drafted two wide receivers in the first few rounds. So Brock Purdy may be on hornet's nest. So low key, I think Aaron Rodgers, the man who got hurt falling, which is a calling card for an old person, may have a better year than Purdy. What say you?
Well, I think so. And the fact that you got if we look at the 49ers, they're still got a big target on their back. They got the first place schedule you go on there. I think teams have a
Mm-hmm.
bigger, better book now on Purdy and what his strengths and weaknesses are, so that you see a lot more stuff. I know, and Aaron Rodgers, we know he's been around for a while, and say what have you. But I think when you look at playing in the AFC East this year, I know you got the Bills still, but the Bills are not the same type of defense as you saw last year.
Yeah.
Look at the Dolphins. I don't think they're the same type of defense as they are last year as well too. And then you got the Patriots, where we know what's going to happen there. So you look at this,
They're
it's
just playing defense.
yeah, it's just like okay, yeah, they'll have some pieces, but they still got a couple years to go. So you look at this and you see like, okay, the Jets have a really fortuitous schedule in terms of
Mm.
opponents since last year, and you have Aaron Rodgers. Oh yeah, and you still have Garrett Wilson and then the rest of those offense, Brees Hall too, coming back. And I'm looking there, I'm like, you know what? I could see him having a bigger one because I just think teams you're gonna have the hangover. You got and teams are going to
Yeah.
figure it out. Upset Ayuk as well too. That's a lot for a young guy to manage and try to keep together. And yeah, and we all heard the system quarterback. System quarterback. Now it's gonna be time for him, especially knowing that he has a contract that's coming up. He's going to want to probably press a little bit and maybe a couple interceptions more than he normally has.
Not only does he have a contract coming up, I don't think I'm taking a jump here, a leap of faith to say he's going to get paid. They've
Right.
got to. They've look. I've said it again, and I'll say it 10,000 times. Trey Lance, someone's going to fall on the sword for Trey Lance because they're paying Trey Lance. Even though he ain't in San Fran, they're paying Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they have to pay Brock Purdy. So if I'm Samuels, who didn't even, he wasn't, I don't think he was the highest receiver when he signed his deal. Now it's just insulting if you're him. And if you're him, you're like, this is insulting here. It still hasn't gotten paid. McCaffrey is injury prone. The tight end whose name escapes me at the moment also has had his injury, Kittle, his injury history. And then you're gonna walk in and you're gonna pay this guy who's played 21 games. You're about to pay him probably make him top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, that seems. And backdrop is the Cardinals won't be any good, so we take them out of the equation. But I think the Rams might be solid this year. I think they'll be more competitive, and they were pretty good last year. So I like the Rams' chances to be pretty good. You know, I think the 49ers, I don't know what we can talk. The Seahawks, I would have to do more research on the Seahawks because I'm not going to say they'll be good, but I'm not going to say they're bad because I don't really know what they got going on with Carroll leaving the sideline, and they've lost a lot of their mainstays and kind of their identity as a team, and they're coached by the guy that didn't want to double team Kelsey. That was coached by the guy who decided not to double team Travis Kelsey. But going back to my point, I believe Aaron Rodgers has one more great season left in him. 4,500 yards, 3+ touchdown, playoff win left in him. I don't believe Purdy is going to be able to overcome the Super Bowl lapse, a disgruntled locker room. And even if they don't say they disgruntled, man to man, I mean, you walk into your office and you see everybody else get checked. Aren't you thinking when's my payday coming?
Mm-hmm. A little too close to home, but yeah, but yeah, it's especially if I'm either Ayuk or Samuel, I'm looking like, wait a minute, like, yo, you guys are paying me all this stuff, and like, oh, you thought he was a person before me, and you even that one, like, where am I in this plan? And you see, especially with those wide receivers that were drafted, and you're sitting like, y'all don't really care about me. Okay, I'll play out my
I like
contract.
that.
I'll play on my contract. We'll see how it goes, and then from there, I'll make sure that I probably stay in the same division because I want to make sure you remember me for the next 2 times a year too. So, yeah, and they're both still to me they're both still in the prime. They're still very good receivers. So they got a few years left on them. It's not a matter of waiting for a decline. So it's I just question the way and I know John Lynch gets a lot of praise. He deserves it. You got your team to be in the playoffs and be like the top 3 or 4 team each every year in the NFC. But the way that he's handled this offseason and the way he's handled his star players on offense, so it's a lot to be desired.
We're on different boats on that one because I don't believe he deserves it at all. I I don't like the way things are done in San Francisco. And it's not that I'm against the team because I could care less about the team. It's just the ain't my fault philosophy that they walk around with. It's not the players that are good, it's our system. It's not our system that's bad, the players are bad. Like how Sway? Like how Sway? I'm confused. Like, it's Trey Lance couldn't operate the system, but Debo Samuels is a product of the system. It seems like it doesn't make sense. You're not gonna anyway. We'll see how it plays out. But my vote is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not really gung high on Aaron Rodgers. I'm not really blazing on Aaron Rodgers either. But I think he has a much more stable Jets stable. That don't even make sense.
Ooh, that's
That don't
crazy.
even make sense.
The Jets have a better team in New York too. So yeah,
Yeah,
all
they
that.
had the much more stable team in New York.
Yep.
You know who the quarterback is. You know who the coach is. You know the system. You know who your go-to guys are. You know who you're not. You know who your role players are. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. In New York, they don't know what they've got going on right now. I don't. In New York, they just drafted a guy, what, less than 5 years ago, second overall,
Yep.
and let him walk and let him go to the team in the same division. I
Don't even have
reiterate,
him a
I
contract.
repeat, I repeat, Dave, repeat out. How, Sway? That makes no sense. It makes bad organizations make bad decisions at bad times. Always, it always happens. Now we go from one bad organization to one that I believe is one of the better runs in one of the better run organizations. But I think they may have made a bad call at offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore is coming to Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts said about 95% of the offense is new. He says he wants to master it, and he believes that he will. And the sky's the limit, blah, 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 blah. My question for you as a person who's been at the mini camps, been at the quarterback camps, been around the team, what's the buzz offensively with this team? They've got a new center. What's the buzz offensively with this team?
I think if anything, the biggest concern is going to be how fast can he pick up this offense, and it shouldn't be a problem because when you look at how many systems he's played in, I think this is his fourth. This is going to be his fourth offensive coordinator since entering the league, and he's
Really?
had third. Sorry, he had Stike. He had Doug Peterson,
Mm,
and that he had
mm,
an
mm.
concoction. You had Steichen, and you have Brian Johnson. Yeah, it'll be a fourth. Yeah, it'll be a fourth one since he wins. It's
It's a
crazy.
great call by you. It's a great
So
call by you.
it's a lot of different. And then we all know I mean, systems, office coordinators he had when he was at Alabama. So that's like,
Yeah.
he's the Rosetta Stone of offense. It's like, well, I see this and this and this and this. All right. Well, this person does this. But you could tell that it's one of those things, especially you could tell he's thinking the processing through, like, okay, my first reads are here and look on that. And that's what slowed him down. So you see there's a second, like he's a second later to throwing one of the receivers he should be. Like one time he had Dallas Goedert run a corner wide open, but he was
Mhm.
still looking and processing. The ball got there, it was overthrown and it was late and everything else. You're like, you can see that he's just trying to process. So I look at everything else. I don't have a problem. I think he'll pick it up. I actually like the more hiring and the fact that you can see compared to last year, I think you'll be able to see the more matchups happen one on one. The way he's using that late motion, because I saw AJ
Mm.
Brown around there. AJ Brown, I think, will have another big year, and so with Devonta Smith. And I think Dallas Goedert will get because when you look at when Dalton Schultz in that offense in the first one, that Dallas he ate. So I think you can get all these guys going there. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Hurts has like a 4,600 yard year. Like he gets 600
Really?
yards, 4,000. I think you get a 4,000 yard year out of this. The key is going to be because especially just utilizing the dump off to Barkley. How many times we see
Mm.
her try to force a throw in downfield last year instead of just taking a dump off? And we all seen how it was like adult dump off to 5, 10, 15, especially with the hip drop rules. Who knows extra because try to tackle Saquon Barkley in the open field. So I think, yeah, I look at all that stuff and I just think, you know what? It'll be fine. It's a matter of how quick can he pick up the system and be okay with
I don't know. I
it.
it's like the worst answer in the world, but I don't know. I my struggles where I have cause for pause is just the familiarity with the players are there, but when one guy doesn't believe in the system, and they hit troubled waters, that's when things begin to sink. And their schedule right now, I believe they start out. I know they got the Packers early, but after that, they've got an early bye. They've got, never know in the NFL. There's always a surprise team, but the schedule kind of favored them. It's not till later, till what was it, week eight or so, it gets a little tougher. So we'll find out early. I would love to see them come out and run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But you can't do that. You just paid your two wide receivers. Your quarterback, you paid the quarterback, but then they gotta throw the ball. It's gotta be a 55-45 type thing.
I think they will run the ball. That's the thing about this as well too. And that's the thing. I think maybe his attention that they will run the ball. Hurts will be under center more. And the thing that's going to come off of that is a play action pass that you can start going there. You can do the slant and goes. You can go to fade routes, the seams and everything with these guys and take your shots as long as the ball is placed down. And we've seen this offense has no problem trying to push the ball. I think to a detriment last year, they were trying to do the go route too much. And we saw teams starting to adjust to that. And that's when you start seeing the cover 3, cover 4, and Hurts and the offense wouldn't adjust and go down underneath for that. So I think that's going to be there. I mean, I can safely say this because I'm going to control that one. Somebody sent me a screenshot of a couple of the plays, like after they said that what Nick said about Sirianni said about the progressions and everything else. Somebody sent me a still from the plays that they're running, one of the plays they're running this year, and may have had copied a couple of the other ones from last year. And you can see there's a
Okay.
couple things, the progressions are a little different from what it was run. So that part is true. So yeah, I can see there's little nuances in how he likes to attack it, but the run game is going to be a vital part of that as well.
So with Kellen Moore, this is the last question on Kellen Moore. With Kellen Moore, is he a guy that can get the most out of Hurts? Because I I think he got the most out of San Diego quarterback. I'm drawing a blank on everybody's name, but he got the most out of San Diego's
Justin Herbert.
quarterback. Yeah. He got the most out of him. He got the most out of Dallas's quarterback. I know it's Dakota Prescott, but he got the most out of Dallas quarterback. Some would say I disagree with that, but I know he got the most out of Herbert because I think Herbert's ceiling has been reached. But I don't know if he got the most out of Prescott. So to that end, where are we gonna see? Like, will he? Do you think he'll get the most out of Jalen Hurts?
I think if anything, the most you can get out is maybe his completion percentage increases by like a point or two. I think
Mm,
right now he basically shows like 65.4, something like that last year. Maybe he gets a 66 because he focuses more on the shorter routes and stuff like that. So it reached there. Maybe
okay.
66 is at an end. It's one of those things that you just need. I'm not worried about the red zone either because look at his history with getting the red zone. It's going to be fine. I'm just more worried about the game flow, how he continues to attack it, how he changes things up. That's where I'm most looking at to see what he does that. And if that's the case, that's how you get most out of Hurts is trying to basically mix the attack each and every week so it doesn't become predictable. And I think
Yeah.
you can do that, but the problem is going to be make sure you have it's the right plan and can you make those changes in the second half of games, which last year sometimes you look at some of the Chargers games there were some issues with that. So that's where I think the main thing is that's where you get the most out of Hurts. Get them ready for the second half of games in order to continue attack and have success later on and keep these games, keep piling on the points so you can let your defense do their thing.
Yeah, because bottom line is Eagles are invested in the players. They put the money into the players.
Yep.
So this thing don't go right, everybody going on that coaching staff. And it won't. Sirianni's got a 5-year deal. He would be up for a contract extension at the end of this season. Am I right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Get you out on this. Joe Burrow. 10 games, 16, 16, 10. It's Joe Burrow. 29, I believe 29 and 22, roughly. Yeah, 29, 22 starting record, somewhere around there. Have we seen the best of Joe Burrow? Is it going to get better? Is Joe Burrow going to lead the Cincinnati Bengals back to an AFC title game? Is Joe Burrow going to stay healthy? Is he going to? I mean, have we
That's the
seen the
key.
best of Joe Burrow?
That's the key. That's the thing. I was like, hold me back from saying no, we haven't. But he's been nicked up, and those start to wear on you, especially at that position. And I'm looking at the AFC, and the AFC is just continually stacked each year. So like I'm looking at like how do you he's not going to surpass Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in that current iteration. He's not surpassing him. And it's one of the things where I'm looking at, I know you're down on Herbert. I'm at the point like, is it Herbert or is it Burrow? And you look at
Fine.
I look at what Herbert did with the receiver. I thought Burrow had better receivers. And I'm saying a lot considering
Yeah.
you had Williams and Williams on there as well too. But I we might be near that. We might be near that point. I still give him one more year. I think this is the year Zach Taylor is going to really, really be under the microscope. Really need to be under the microscope, even if he loses, even if he's healthy enough, because I look at the skill set, it's still there. I look at the receivers, still there.
Mm.
I think he needs to be on that field for 15 games this year. And you're hoping that the last one, the 16th one, he misses one game early on, maybe gets nicked up, and the 17th one, you're hoping that you're heating and you're good because but I want to stick with my gut. I'll stick with my gut and say no, we haven't seen the worst of Joe Burrow yet. He hasn't peaked.
Yeah, I think he's peaked. And you mentioned somebody. you mentioned Patrick Mahomes. He mentioned he said he's on line with Justin Herbert. I align him more with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. And I never and you and I talked about this offline, and I don't know if a lot of people know. I never believed in Trevor. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see what everyone else saw in him. With Patrick Mahomes, I saw it. I recognized it. It was something I was familiar with. Did I think he would get to the level he's at now? No way. No way. No way. But that the arm, the confidence, the bravado, the leadership, the charisma, the charm, all of those things, I saw it. It was Dan Marino. Dan Marino. Like when I looked at Patrick Mahomes, the first thing I thought was Dan Marino. I did. Now, did I think he would be a champion unlike Marino? No, but he reminded me a lot of Dan Marino. When I saw Trevor Lawrence, he just didn't seem special. Best thing he had going for him was his hair. Other than that, I it's like, yo, he's got outstanding hair for a white dude. Other than that, I just didn't get it. To see what he's done in Jacksonville so far, he had the wretched first half, and then he comes oddly enough against Herbert. It's a wretched first half, comes back, rebounds. But other than that, I don't in that division, he should be more successful. In that division, he should be more accomplished. Now I take you back, to Burrow. Burrow, conversely, has a harder division, a much more difficult division. That's going to be his Achilles heel. Injuries are a part of the game. Injuries are a part of sports. But when a guy often gets injured, you have to say that's a part of that guy's career. And that's who that guy is. And the reason it stops becoming why he's not on the field, too, he's not on the field. That's what I see with Burrow. And the worst thing the best thing to Burrow was winning early. The worst thing for Burrow was winning early. Now he's trying to chase the ghosts of that. I just two major injuries in 4 seasons, unbelievably hard division. Yes, we've seen the best of Joe Burrow. We've seen the best. I just think it's over with. I think they're a 500 team at best going forward.
And that's going to be kind of a funny matchup now when we see these Eagles face the Bengals. You're going to see, hey, what's going on? You got two quarterbacks there at a crossroads now because I know Hurts is still there. Hurts is going to be there at least for another year or two, what have you. And the Eagles are hoping he's there a lot much longer. I kind of am, but it'll be a crossroads, a whole new system. And you're looking at Burrow, who's kind of wavering. That's one of the most. I think that's going to be one of the best games of the year when we see that, because there'll be both quarterbacks on the display. Both defenses might be at that point. If the Eagles don't have a pass rush from their steady pass rush in the corners, they're going to expose for a second. That game might be one of the highest scoring games of the year. I'm looking like I can't wait to see it all happen too. This will be fun.
I Hurts is another animal totally because it's all set up for him to be successful. It's kind of like with Hurts, all he's got to do is show up. Like the Eagles had a lot of success, but I think everyone would agree that there was something other than football going on last year. And he still came out and performed. The team in general just was lackluster. But injuries are just demoralizing to a team, to everything. And he's had 2 and 4 seasons. It's pretty tough to. And even the one season where he started first season where he started 16 games, he was only 10-6. That's not world beater status, you know?
Yeah. I'll throw this question at you. I'll throw this question at you. If he has peaked, do you believe that the Bengals will move on after this season or next?
No way.
And think he would be a good fit for it?
No way. The Bengals don't move on because even a peak Joe Burrow is still better than anything they've had at quarterback. We talked a few shows about Oregon quarterbacks, talked about Achilles Smith. And I mean, the list goes on and on of failed Cincinnati Bengal quarterback. The bigger question is how do they justify not paying other guys if Joe Burrow's not playing well? And what I mean by that is, how can you justify not paying your offensive linemen, not paying your defensive linemen, not paying linebackers, not paying anybody, and then Joe Burrow's coming out struggling because everyone's going to say, oh, he's doing too much because he's trying to carry the team. And Mike Brown's not going to pay a team when he knows a quarterback is only an 8 or 9 win quarterback. Carson Palmer 2.0. And some people believe Carson Palmer was a good quarterback. Some people believe Carson Palmer was championship level quarterback. Numbers say he was a better than about 500 quarterback.
I look at. I
In
think he was
Cincinnati.
good. He was good. I think we saw a show. What I just imagine what he could have been if he was in the Arizona a lot longer, if he was healthy earlier there. I think
Mm.
because Mike Brown, like you said, the Bengals as an organization and the way they invest in their facilities. All I
As
can
a
think
record
about,
staff, as a label.
yeah, all I can think about is like I know it's a different sport, but the movie Major League when you had a new owner, we need cold water, you got cold water. These players, I just imagine that as the Bengals as the NFL version of that. And I think that's so. They just they're better now. They've treated the players better, but it's still.
They're
Ugh.
competent now. They're competent now. They're not, we won't say they're better. They're competent. They don't have to reuse jock straps now.
Yeah.
They can do different stuff, but they're still the Bengals. And but you said something about Carson Palmer. If he stayed healthy,
Yep.
it's the same thing with Burrow. If Burrow stays healthy, two major injuries, and I was starting to look this up, and it was like, I don't really want to relive that, but I don't think about players that have had two significant injuries in their first 5 years, just brush that off and go to a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
It does, they always break your heart. They always break your heart. Yeah, exactly.
What
They
ifs?
always break your heart. And that division is not one to be trifled with. And that's the monster in the room. Pittsburgh is always going to be 500 or better. Baltimore is always going to be tough. And as long as Lamar Jackson's there, they're going to be a great regular season team. Keyword there is regular season.
I heard you slow down. It was a regular.
And Cleveland looks to have at least a functioning football team. So if you've got a functioning football team, you've got 8 or 9 wins in Cleveland. You're looking at 11 to 12 in Baltimore, and you're looking at about 10 to 11 in Pittsburgh. It's not much meat left on the bone for Cincinnati. Not much at all. Yes, I appreciate you, brother. We'll check back in a few weeks. Are you able to get a break?
July, I'm going off the grid for most of July. I got
Nice.
since the dead period is here from like July 1st to the 18th. I'm off. I got to get all this vacation time. I can't use it a lot, so why not do it there? So cannot wait.
July is sports talk or sports analyst fun time because that's when you get to play with all sorts of topics. The only thing you got going on in July is summer league. Summer
Yep.
league and baseball. Yeah, that's fun. That's what
Yeah.
people love to talk about July baseball. They love that. All right, brother. I appreciate you. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin of NJ.com. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next time, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.